Hey, thank you all so much and for once again coming to the daily briefing that the city has put on in conjunction with all of our partners over the course of these challenging times. Thank you for taking the time to make sure that the information gets out to citizens all across the Midlands and indeed all across the world. While we've made some significant strides prior to the floods, we do believe we've really made some giant leaps in terms of transparency since then. As we continue to deal with this challenge, and it will continue not for days but for months and for years, we want to encourage you to continue to utilize the city and our staff. City managers done a fantastic job in making sure not only do we keep the trains on the tracks, but we disseminate that information in a very clear and cogent and useful manner to the citizens of this region by publishing the daily incident response brief as we continue through the life cycle of this event. We want you to continue to come to us for the facts. Come to us for the facts. And we want to thank you, all of you, for, I believe, the wonderful job the media has done in helping us share the facts with our citizens who need to know what's going on. I'm going to yield to the city manager. I will say that at this point we're seeing some significant improvements, particularly as we all work together with DOT on what we know is a patchwork of state roads and county roads and city roads, and ensuring that we're able to move both people and product all across this region. We're seeing great improvements in that space, and we look forward to continuing to see those improve. City Manager?
Yes, sir. Good morning. We wanted to take today as sort of an opportunity to not wrap up, but at least begin to transition into a new phase of this recovery effort, and to certainly brief the media and the public as we've tried to do on a regular basis. I don't anticipate that we will continue to have daily press briefings, because I think as the life cycle of this disaster continues, that is certainly not going to be as necessary. But we do want to reassure the public that at any point in time when there is pertinent information, we will be getting it out to you. And as the mayor indicated, we will continue to publish the daily incident brief for the days to come. And we want you to utilize that, because that really will be the best method of getting out accurate, concise information. One of the key things that will happen now is that we will stand down our Emergency Operations Center today at 4:00 p.m. And that is something that would traditionally happen around this time in any event. You will begin to hear about that, at the state when they decide to do that, at the county when they decide to do that as well. But I anticipate those things will be happening across this region. That does not mean that the work has ended. Quite frankly, the work is just beginning in many aspects. We are very heavily involved now with the FEMA recovery and reimbursement process that we have implemented with the state. One of the first things that has to happen, and we've done that, is to submit our request for public assistance, which is our RPA. And as a city entity, we have done that. We will be an applicant in and of ourselves at the City of Columbia. That includes project worksheets that we are submitting with staff for recovery efforts, the beginning phases of the recovery that you all have seen right before your eyes with public safety issues, the canal issues. But then it goes into another phase of permanent assistance that we'll be applying for as well. And all of that we are paying particular attention to, and we're making sure that our communication process internally is as it should be, so that there are primary points of contact, myself and a designee that I have to communicate with FEMA directly on a daily basis probably. So we just want to assure the public that all of that is happening. We also want to continue to work with citizens to get out information on how they individually report their issues to FEMA. And so we've already started putting out the 1-800 numbers. We have been very active in getting the disaster recovery centers set up. We will continue to be very involved in that process because it's so important that as a community, every single person who has been impacted by this event is reporting their impact to the federal government, and we want to help you to get that information reported properly. Some of the other things that we announced yesterday include the updates on traffic and road closures and openings. Yesterday, I was really proud of our staff, Chief Holbrook, Missy Gentry, so PD, Public Works, came up with a process with South Carolina DOT to work on every day, every afternoon, looking at the work that's been done on our roads for that day and coming up with a comprehensive list that we can put out. And so the media was given that yesterday, I think right before 5, and we'll continue to shoot for that time frame. It may be a little bit later depending on the day's work, but we'll every evening put out updated information on road closures and openings, because we know that's very critical right now as people are trying to get back to their daily business and move around our city. Another issue that we want to make the public aware of is the Riverfront Park closure. Due to the work at the canal, we did have to close Riverfront Park, and we anticipate that the park will remain closed for 3 weeks to 30 days. I mean, the sooner the better, obviously, that we can get that back up and running. We know that it's a favorite location for many of our active runners and walkers in our city, so we're very anxious to get it back up and running. Our interim parks director, Randy Davis, is on top of that, along with our public works staff. So we will be making sure to keep giving you information on the opening of Riverfront Park. But we want to make sure that it is a safe environment for our citizens, and we have to allow time for cleanup and inspection before we can open it back up fully. We've got the debris removal process continuing. At this point, we have a total tonnage of 2,574. 2,574 tons. That is a lot of debris. We're so very proud of our Public Works and Solid Waste staff who have done that internally. They have taken on that effort in-house and have done a phenomenal job. We'll be returning to full services on Monday, October 19th with solid waste pickup. So that would be garbage, trash, which is your yard waste, and recycling is all back on full schedule this coming Monday. Again, we're working with South Carolina DOT for prioritization of our repairs on our roads and bridges, as well as timely communication of the openings, like I just indicated. As far as the canal goes, the work continues along the embankment to reinforce areas prior to allowing any water levels to return to normal. So you may not see, the water at its full capacity, what you're used to seeing. That's nothing to be alarmed about. The work is continuing out at the canal. And we're discussing plans for the area between Jarvis, Clapman, and Gervais, anticipating that it will be months before this area is totally completed. I mentioned the disaster recovery centers. I want to just give the locations as we know them to date. The South Carolina State Fair, as we've been told, will actually have a place for individuals to go while they're at the fair this week. The Lexington County Library, and then in our area, of course, Richland County, it would be Richland Library Southeast Branch, the Richland Library in Eastover, and I believe the main public library on Assembly Street, as of later today, will also be capable of taking information for individuals seeking recovery and FEMA assistance. There's also the Irmo Library, which is also set up in this regard. We're also inquiring about an additional location in North Columbia. I think at the time when we were originally looking at this, the library out there may not have been accessible, but we've made the request for the North Columbia Library to also be a disaster recovery center. We've mentioned, and I'll say it again, to please continue to look at the incident brief online for your accurate information. And one other thing that we definitely want people to be aware of is that our November 3rd elections are on schedule. They will be held on November 3rd, and I think that's very important to the mayor and council that they ask some questions to make sure that no one was going to be disenfranchised due to the storm, and we have made lots of inquiries. All of the polling precincts are at their original locations, and we have worked with Richland County Elections Commission to confirm that the elections will go on November the 3rd. As to the community meetings that we had a very good, strong turnout last night for individuals seeking information on floodplain repair, permit assistance. We will continue to have those community meetings where individuals can come and actually meet with our staff. Of course, people can go to Washington Square at 1136 Washington Street on a daily basis to begin the work and get the permit process done. But we're also continuing to have meetings on Monday, October 19th. There will be one at 5 o'clock from 5 to 6:30 at Woodland Park, which is 6500 Old Knight Parkway. And we'll have another Monday evening at M.L. Smith Community Center, which is at 5213 Farrow Road, and that one will be from 7 to 8:30, and individuals can actually meet with our staff at that point in time. One of the things that I really wanted to have the opportunity to do today, and you've heard me say it many times, is that my heart has been full throughout this process as I've seen the dedication, the character, the commitment of the staff at the City of Columbia. But many people have seen my face, they've seen Ms. Gentry's face, but they have not necessarily seen the faces of our first responders, lots of our staff from Public Works, engineering in the field. Some of their representatives are behind me today, whether it is our assistant city managers who represent those areas, Allison Baker and Jeff Palin with finance, Missy's here. But I also want them to know how very happy I am that we've at least reached this point, and I'm so proud of their efforts thus far. We have Captain Larry Johnson, who oversees our Emergency Operations Center, who is very low profile and wouldn't want to, be recognized, but it's certainly important that all of them are recognized for the work that they have done throughout this effort. And I think I can go out on a limb and say on behalf of all of them how thankful we are for our families, because I know for me, I've been away from my family a lot. We have staff members who've been away from their families 24/7 at times. All of us have put our heart and soul into this, and we just want our community to know that that will continue for months and years to come. And you have our commitment for that. So one of the things we want to leave with you all as we thank all of the citizens of Columbia and our families is that we will recover, we will rebuild, and we are Columbia. We've got plenty of staff here who can answer any additional questions. Chief Holbrook is here if he has any updates, and we can take those questions at this time.
So we have had several inquiries from people who are city staff who have asked questions and are worried about, they are saying that the city is making them use their personal time off for the days that they've had here. Can you clarify that situation? Some of them are telling us that you don't have vacation time, you don't get paid for the time that you took off during the situation you just had.
Sure. No, that's inaccurate, Jack. What happens during this period of time is that we are obviously looking at the essential staff persons who have been working tirelessly since this event started, actually having to come into work because that's the nature of their jobs. I would imagine the questions you've gotten are from non-essential staff who obviously they don't come into work during this period of time. So what has to happen from a management standpoint is I have to make the decision to forgive the time for the non-essential staff persons who obviously couldn't come in. This was an act of God, and so those are all things that I would factor into a decision to forgive time, which I will make in due time. But right now, my priority is ensuring that the time is accurately documented for our essential staff persons who have been on the field, on the ground, working very hard since the start of this event. And at the right time, we will announce how the time will be taken into account and managed as far as the non-essential staff. I can guarantee you this was an act of God. You know, the time will most likely be forgiven. So these inquiries that people are getting into as to my leave is going to be taken away from me and that kind of thing is really not for anybody to worry about. It is very premature. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.